It never looks like a trap. It looks like the most beautiful thing you've ever found. You know that feeling when you meet someone and everything just clicks. They say exactly what you needed to hear. They show up exactly when you were lonely. They feel like sunlight after the longest winter of your life. And you think, finally, someone who gets me. But what if the thing that felt like home was designed to consume you? What if the warmth was the weapon? There's a plant that has perfected this strategy for millions of years. And today it has something urgent to teach you about the people you trust, the patterns you repeat, and the parts of yourself you keep giving away. The Venus Flytrap, Dionaea miscipula, grows in only one tiny place on Earth, a small stretch of subtropical wetlands along the coast of the Carolinas. Nowhere else, just there. It lives in soil so poor, so nutrient-starved, that almost nothing else can survive there. And that's the first lesson. The Venus flytrap didn't become a predator because it was powerful. It became a predator because it was starving. The soil couldn't give it what it needed. So it evolved a different strategy. It learned to lure, to attract, to offer something irresistible, and then to take everything. Look at the inside of its trap. That deep red color? It mimics the appearance of a flower. Those tiny glands along the rim? They produce nectar, real nectar. Sweet, fragrant, genuinely nourishing. The trap doesn't lie about what it's offering. The nectar is real. The sweetness is real. And that's what makes it so devastating. Because the most dangerous traps in life, in relationships, in friendships, in the bonds that slowly break us, they don't start with cruelty. They start with something real. Here is how the Venus flytrap hunts. And I want you to listen carefully, because you may recognize these stages. Not from swamp, from your own life. Stage 1, the attraction. The trap opens wide. It presents itself as something beautiful, something generous. Nectar pools along its edges like an invitation. The colors are vivid, warm. The insect doesn't have to be forced. It wants to come closer. And in human terms, this is the person who seems too good to be true. The one who mirrors your humor, your dreams, your wounds. They seem to understand you on a level no one else ever has. They make you feel seen, maybe for the first time. Psychologists call this love bombing, an overwhelming flood of attention, affection, and validation, designed not to connect with you, but to disarm you. Stage 2, the testing. Inside the Venus flytrap, there are 6 tiny hair-like structures called trigger hairs. And here is the remarkable thing. One touch is not enough. The trap does not close after a single trigger. The plant waits. It requires a second touch on a different hair within 20 seconds. It's confirming this is real prey, not a raindrop, not a false alarm. It is making sure you're invested. Think about that. Even a plant knows. You don't trap someone on the first move. You wait. You test their commitment. You let them settle in. You let them believe they're choosing to stay. In toxic relationships, this is the phase where small boundaries get tested. A comment that feels slightly off, but gets brushed aside because everything else is so good. A moment of control disguised as concern. A flash of coldness followed immediately by warmth. And you think, maybe I imagined it. Maybe I'm overthinking. Look how sweet they are. Look how much they care. The second hair is triggered. Stage 3, the capture. The trap snaps shut in less than 1/10 of a second. It is one of the fastest movements in the entire plant kingdom. But here's what most people don't know. The trap doesn't seal completely. Not yet. There are gaps between those interlocking teeth. Small gaps, just large enough for something tiny to escape. And this is strangely merciful, because what the plant is doing is letting the things that aren't worth consuming simply leave. Tiny insects, ones without enough nutritional value, can slip through. The trap only fully seals around prey large enough to be worth the effort. And in life, this is the moment most people miss. The early closure. The first snap. When a relationship shifts, when the dynamic changes, there's still gaps. There's still exits. Friends who raise concerns. Gut feelings you haven't fully silenced yet. Small windows where you could still pull away. But here's the tragedy. The things worth consuming. The people with the most empathy, the most love to give, the most loyalty, they don't slip through the gaps. They stay. Because they believe the trap is still a flower. Once the trap is fully sealed, something terrible begins. The plant floods the sealed chamber with digestive enzymes, the same kind of enzymes found in your own stomach. And slowly, over 5 to 12 days, it breaks the insect down. Not quickly, not mercifully, slowly, methodically. It absorbs the nitrogen, the phosphorus, the nutrients the poor soil could never provide. The prey doesn't die from the snap. It dies from the slow dissolution. And if that doesn't describe the experience of being in a toxic relationship, I don't know what does. Because it's never the first argument that destroys you. It's not the first lie, the first manipulation, the first time they made you feel small. It's the accumulation, the slow breaking down of who you are, day after day, week after week, until you look in the mirror and you don't recognize the person staring back. Your confidence dissolved. Your boundaries dissolved. Your sense of what's normal, what's healthy, what you deserve dissolved. Psychologists call this the erosion of self. It doesn't happen in a moment. It happens in 1,000 small moments that you were taught to forgive, to minimize, to explain away. And when it's over, when the trap finally opens again, what's left isn't a person. It's an outline of one, a shell, hollow, drained of everything that once made them vibrant and alive. The trap reopens, resets, produces fresh nectar, and waits for the next visitor. Because here's the darkest truth the Venus Flytrap teaches us. The trap is never full, is never satisfied. Each leaf can consume 2, maybe 3 prey in its lifetime before it exhausts itself and dies. But the plant keeps growing new traps, new leaves, new invitations. The person who drained you, they don't stop. They simply open a new trap for someone else. And the pattern repeats. Not because the prey is foolish, but because the trap is expertly designed. Millions of years of evolution went into making that nectar smell exactly right, making those colors exactly warm enough, making that snap exactly fast enough. You were not stupid for walking in. You were human. And the trap was built for humans exactly like you, the caring ones, the hopeful ones, the ones who lead with trust. But here is where the story changes. Here is what the swamp also teaches, if you're willing to look beyond the trap. The Venus flytrap is extraordinary, yes, but it is not the only plant in this ecosystem, and it is not even the most successful. All around it, in the same nutrient-poor soil, there are sundews, pitcher plants, grasses, mosses, wildflowers. Life everywhere. And most of these plants survive, not by trapping, not by taking, but by adapting, by growing deeper roots, by forming relationships with fungi underground that share nutrients across entire networks, by bending toward whatever light is available and making it enough. Beneath the surface of every forest, every wetland, every meadow, there is a hidden network. Mycorrhizal fungi connecting the roots of different plants, sharing sugar, sharing water, sharing warnings about danger. Scientists call it the Wood Wide Web, and it is the largest example of mutual support in the natural world. This is what healthy connection looks like. Not a trap dressed as a flower, but a network, a quiet, underground exchange where both sides give, both sides receive, and neither is consumed. And here is the insight that I hope stays with you long after this video ends. You cannot recognize a trap until you know what real nourishment feels like. If you have been in a toxic relationship with a partner, a friend, a family member, even a version of yourself, the most important thing you can do is not just leave the trap. It's to learn what healthy soil feels like. It's to understand that love is not supposed to be overwhelming. It's supposed to be sustaining, like rain, like light, consistent, gentle, present without demanding your entire self in return. The Japanese have a concept called Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing, simply being present in nature. In research from Chiba University, from Stanford, from the University of Michigan, consistently shows that time spent among trees and plants reduces cortisol, the stress hormone, by nearly 16%. It lowers heart rate. It quiets the default mode network of the brain, the part responsible for rumination, self-criticism, and replaying painful memories over and over. Nature doesn't just heal you. It teaches you the pace at which real healing happens. Not in a snap, not in a single dramatic moment, but slowly, like a root pushing through stone, like a forest recovering after a fire. You are not a Venus flytrap. You are not designed to consume or be consumed. You are something far more resilient. You are the kind of life that grows back, that sends out new roots, that finds sunlight even in the smallest crack. And the fact that you survived something designed to break you down, the fact that you're here, still searching, still feeling, that is not weakness. That is photosynthesis. That is turning darkness into energy. That is the most natural thing in the world. The Venus flytrap is a marvel of evolution, but it is also a prisoner of its own strategy. Each trap can only close a handful of times before it dies. It spends more energy catching prey than almost any other plant spends simply growing. It is efficient at taking, but it is terrible at living. And the people who operate like Venus flytraps, the ones who lure, test, capture, and consume, they are trapped too. Trapped in a cycle of hunger that no amount of taking will ever satisfy. That is not your burden to carry, and it was never yours to fix. So if you've been inside a trap, or if you're in one right now, remember this. The nectar was real, your feelings were real, but the flower was never a flower. And you're not what they reduced you to. You are not the hollow shell left behind when the trap reopened. You are the entire wetland, the roots, the network, the light. You're everything that grows. If this reached something inside you today, if it named something you felt but couldn't quite describe, you're not alone. This channel is a place for people who think deeply, feel deeply, and believe that nature still has things to teach us about being human. If that sounds like you, stay close. Subscribe. There's more growing here.